Donald Trump remains one of the most divisive figures in American politics. Since his entrance into the political arena, he has garnered both passionate support and fierce opposition. But why do so many Americans harbor such strong, negative feelings toward him? In this video, we'll explore the main reasons behind the widespread dislike and criticism of Donald Trump. Number 1, controversial statements and actions. From the start, Trump's rhetoric has sparked controversy. During his 2016 campaign, he used language that many found inflammatory, targeting groups like immigrants, Muslims, and women. For example, his comment about building a wall along the Mexican border to prevent what he referred to as criminals and rapists from entering the U.S. sparked widespread backlash, especially among Latino communities. Trump's comments often veered into uncharted territory for an American president, using personal insults and harsh language, even against his political opponents. This approach may have won over some people who liked his tell-it-like-it-is style, but for others, it crossed the line into offensive and disrespectful territory, unbefitting of a leader. Number 2, policy decisions. Another reason behind the dislike for Trump is his policy decisions, which often appear to align with his business interests or those of his wealthy allies. The tax cuts he signed into law in 2017, for example, largely benefited corporations and the wealthy, raising questions about whether he was truly looking out for the average American. His environmental policies were also a point of contention. Trump pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement, rolling back numerous environmental protections and favoring fossil fuel industries. Many Americans, especially younger generations and environmental activists, were outraged by what they saw as a disregard for the planet's future. Number 3, handling of COVID-19. Trump's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic is often cited as a major factor in the dislike against him. Early on, he downplayed the severity of the virus, comparing it to the flu and suggesting it would go away like a miracle. His response was widely criticized as inconsistent and inadequate, with delayed actions that some believe contributed to a higher death toll and economic fallout. Further adding to the frustration, he promoted unproven treatments and even questioned the need for masks at times, going against the advice of health experts. His rallies, where large crowds gathered without social distancing, were seen as a disregard for public safety and seemed to politicize a public health crisis. For many Americans, these actions fueled their discontent, seeing them as examples of Trump prioritizing politics over public welfare. Number 4, racial tensions. During his presidency, Trump faced significant criticism for his handling of issues related to race. Following events like the Charlottesville rally in 2017, where a white supremacist rally led to the death of a counter-protester, Trump's response was widely condemned. His statement that there were very fine people on both sides drew criticism for what many saw as an equivocal stance on white nationalism. Under Trump's leadership, the U.S. experienced heightened racial tensions, especially during the protests that followed George Floyd's death in 2020. His law and order response, which included deploying federal forces to cities experiencing unrest, was seen by some as an excessive use of power, and critics argued that it further inflamed the situation instead of addressing the underlying issues of racial inequality and police violence. Number 5, allegations of corruption and misuse of power. Throughout his time in office, Trump faced numerous allegations of corruption. From the beginning, there were concerns about conflicts of interest, as he refused to fully divest from his business empire, which created a perception that he could be profiting personally from his presidency. The impeachment proceedings in 2019 added fuel to this fire. Trump was accused of abusing his power by pressuring Ukraine to investigate a political opponent, Joe Biden. Though he was acquitted by the Senate, many Americans saw the proceedings as evidence of unethical behavior. His second impeachment in 2021, following the Capital Riot, solidified this view for many, with accusations that he incited violence to overturn the election results. Number 6, distrust in institutions and the media. Another significant reason for the dislike toward Trump is the erosion of trust in institutions that occurred during his presidency. He frequently criticized the media, branding outlets like CNN and the New York Times as fake news. This attack on the press created a divide, with some people questioning the credibility of long-standing news organizations. His supporters viewed it as a rallying cry against perceived bias, but others saw it as a dangerous move undermining the role of a free press. Additionally, Trump frequently questioned the credibility of government institutions, including intelligence agencies and the FBI. By attacking these institutions, Trump created a landscape of distrust that, according to his critics, weakened public faith in these pillars of democracy. Number 7. The Capitol Riot. On January 6, 2021, Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol, disrupting the certification of Joe Biden's presidential win. This event was a breaking point for many Americans. Trump's response, where he initially failed to condemn the rioters and instead told them they were very special and loved, was seen by many as encouragement rather than leadership in a time of crisis. The incident led to Trump's second impeachment. As members of Congress accused him of inciting an insurrection, the Capitol riot served as a stark reminder of how deeply divided the country had become under Trump's leadership, with many viewing him as a destabilizing force in American democracy. Number 8. Impact on American democracy and global reputation. Lastly, Trump's impact on America's global reputation has been a lasting concern for many Americans. His America First approach, marked by withdrawing from international agreements and alienating traditional allies, made some Americans feel that the U.S. was losing its standing as a world leader. This was particularly evident in how he dealt with NATO, his trade wars with China, and his relationship with leaders like Vladimir Putin. Critics argue that Trump's actions diminished America's influence on the world stage and damaged relationships with allies built over decades. For many Americans, this shift in global standing felt like a loss of identity and values that the country had traditionally championed. Conclusion. The reasons why many Americans dislike Donald Trump are complex and multifaceted, spanning from his language and policies to his impact on American democracy and global relations. For some, Trump represented a shakeup of the political establishment, but for others, his leadership style and decisions were deeply unsettling. Trump's time in office has left a significant mark on the American political landscape, and the emotions he provokes are a reflection of the lasting debates over the values, identity, and future of the country. Whether loved or disliked, his legacy is one that will continue to influence American society for years to come.